Okay. Hi.
Hi, Ronnie.
Hi. So, death with dignity is my SRP this year. So my research question is, how do doctors and legislators determine if a person is of a good, sound mind, good candidate for death with dignity? Definition of terms. Euthanasia. Euthanasia is a drug that comes in a pill form or a liquid form, or sometimes both. It's like a little clear capsule with the little balls in them. So sometimes they use those as the liquid form, so they like take them apart and put them together. It's usually the whole bottle. It's usually like 100 milligrams, so it's a lot. So they use the whole thing. Assisted suicide. So I'm not talking about like go up there with somebody and like they kill you with a knife. I'm talking about like with a physician, so a doctor who is licensed and is wanting to participate in a patient's request to potentially kill themselves. So they're just assisting and giving the medication, but they're actually not like touching them. Death with dignity. It's a law that's only legal in Oregon, Washington State, and Vermont. The law allows the citizens of those states to take their own life if they are terminally ill, and that is like the only like you can't take your life if you're suicidal. You can only be terminally ill. Terminally ill. And so usually a status is given to someone that's been diagnosed with an illness and expected to die within the next 6 weeks, months, days, years. So what does death with dignity mean? Truth is, we all know this, that we never know exactly when we're going to die. But what I found researching from the NCHS is that officially anybody in the U.S., like nobody dies of old age anymore. It's kind of unfortunate, but you know. Meaning basically that most of us are going to die of a disease. So usually that's either heart disease, obesity, cancer, anything in that realm. Sides of the issue, pros. People that are for death with dignity believe that it provides people control over their death. So what that means is like most people in other states that don't have death with dignity, so like California for instance, if you were to have cancer, most cancer patients will wait out, you know, going through their process, and they, you know, end up not being the same person they were when they first got it. So, like, it withers away what they used to look like. So, what people that are doing death with dignity are claiming that they have more control over that. Like, if they don't want their kids to see them, you know, all shriveled up and about ready to croak, they could potentially like prevent that from happening, like whenever they want to. You can ask at any time for a prescription of euthanasia, which is what most people like about it. Cons. The death with dignity law makes it hard to get medication because there's such a long waiting process to get approved. A lot of people strongly believe that it's against the morality of death, and it's like not natural, and most people believe that you should die when God or whatever you believe in is supposed to, you know, go. More arguments. There's not enough safeguards to protect you, so what they mean by that is that people that are suicidal could like go in and potentially participate in it, but other people like doctors and stuff could potentially hurt patients trying to be a part of the dignity movement. So, pros. Best thing probably about this is that there's no pain or suffering. You literally just drink it and it's like fruit punch. My position, after doing so much research on this and then doing it as a whole class, I found that really legislators have the power to make death with dignity happen or not. And basically, it's up to the patient to decide whether or not like they're ready to do it if they've gone through all the safeguards and been approved and been signed off and all those other great things. And most of all, they die with the most dignity in their eyes. Big thing that came up a lot. Morality. People are like, this goes against naturally dying in your bed at 50, whatever, 60 years old. In Oregon State, for the past 20 years or so, this hasn't been around. It's been around since 1997, so it hasn't been around quite 20 years, but generally only 500 people have used the law. There's more people that have like been accepted, and there's some people that like they go through the entire process and they have the prescription, but they never ever take it because you always have that option. Sometimes they end up dying of like whatever their disease was or some unnatural cause that they don't know of. California recently has gone into this debate again. They've been in the debate of death with dignity for about 2 decades now. And every time they brought it back, people have really rejected it and are not very fond of the idea. But what they found out this year in recent months that a lot of people support it now. There's a 64 to 24% difference. And this could potentially mean that California would be the largest state to have this happening. And it has the most potential to pass when it goes up to the ballots because the legislation have already approved it. So next time that we vote, it should be up there. To make sure that you're safe, so all the safeguards, there's a 15-day waiting period after your first initial request, so that's a verbal request. Then after that, you have to have a written request, and then you have to have somebody that's there that's not like directly related to you, so it has to be like a friend or like someone you know has to be there to witness you write down all these things. And then you're waiting another week or so, then you hear back, and then you have a meeting with the doctor, and the doctor tells you, no, I don't agree to you doing this, or yes, I would agree, you have a sound mind, I think that you should go ahead and reap the benefits of this. So Brittany Maynard has come up in the news recently. She lived right here in the Bay Area. She was only 29 years old, and that was a big deal because most people that take advantage of death with dignity are like in their 30s and up. She almost made it to 30. Didn't quite. She was like shy a couple months. Cody Curtis is a woman that had terminal cancer as well, and it spread throughout her body. She was only 52. She lived in Oregon. Counter argument, again, morality issue. People have their own religious and personal beliefs. Some people believe that it's completely suicide. And some people just don't think they should take their life based on a health issue. In order to have all the states in the United States to go through with death with dignity, they would have to have laws similar to Oregon's. Oregon's got a lot of safeguards, like I explained, the whole process of waiting to get a prescription of euthanasia. And you would need a lot of support. Like I mentioned with California, you have to have like a lot of people to support it in order for it to even be considered. Not all the people that apply, like I said earlier, actually like are in it. Like only 60% of people that are put in the 6-month waiting period have a doctor sign off on their eligibility. Patients always have the option to take it. There's only like 5% of those that get actually approved that actually ever don't take it. Most of them do. Then, oops, sorry.
We're going to move into Q&A. Before the Q&A, could you show us your research question again? Thank you.
Why is it, I'm still unclear, why is it called death with dignity?
Reason why it used to be called assisted suicide. They thought death with dignity was a better term because most people believe that they're actually dying with dignity rather than having it stripped away from them. If they were to like die of, like, say they have cancer and it's a really aggressive cancer and they lost all their bodily functions, most people would not associate that as like dying with dignity. So they came up with this whole name. And, yeah.
So this is a very complex question, and it looks as I noticed on one of your slides, the morality slide, you didn't really spend a lot of time talking about the counter argument. So it does appear to be evident that you are for it, as long as the state and legislators follow through with the safeguards. I'm wondering how you decided the safeguards outweighed the morality issue. How did you decide to choose your side over the counter argument?
I saw that there was a lot of like ways that you can't really. There's not a lot of loopholes into it. A lot of people think that there are. You really like if you really wanted to like just kill yourself just to do it because you're a depressed person, you really could not do it. Morality, I feel like morality is almost hard to measure with people. I feel like that's like someone's own personal belief. And I think that there's enough, like, I feel like this is safe enough to be okay. And not everyone has to participate in it. And most of the people that have the morality issue or talk about it being a morality issue are the people that like don't want to take it at all, or they're like this, I would never do this if I was like terminally ill. So I decided that ultimately like these safeguards sounded good to me, and personally if I was terminally ill I would go ahead and do this process.
You mentioned that it seems like there's rising support for this in California. Can you give us a little more detail on what you researched about like upcoming propositions, or what did you find about California and that?
So when I found out about Brittany Maynard, basically that sparked this whole thing with California again, because this has been like a couple years since this has been brought up again. So it didn't get brought up until she died. One of her last dying wishes was that I want my home state to be able to have this as an option. So legislators were like, okay, let's look into this. And then before she died, she made an argument video saying that you should allow Californians to do this. A lot of other people started chiming in on her story, and then she died, and then all of a sudden they got up to the courts, and then they started talking about it, and then legislation started talking about it, and then they voted on it, and then it became this whole shebang, and eventually like grew up into what it is now.
Right. What did you learn about your, you must, I'm thinking you had preconceived notions about what death with dignity meant, and what did you learn by doing this project?
Well, I first heard about it through Brittany Maynard, and first I was like, this person is really crazy, like why is she killing herself? Like I had no idea that she had like terminal cancer. Recently, my own personal life, like my father's had cancer and survived it, and my grandmother had it in kidney. And it really made me think about the future, and I know that I have a high ability to get cancer, that if I was to be in that situation, like what would I do? Would I do the same thing as my grandmother did and wither away to nothing? And I thought to myself, I really want to be remembered as a really good person and everything that was good about me, and not what happened at the last month or year of my life. And I feel like this is one of the ways that that could potentially be highlighted in a more positive light than negative. So I think, to answer your question, what I've learned is that death is not as scary as people make it seem.